finishing, but I'd like us to also just get your comments on the court ruling on Friday, and this was on the decriminalization of homosexuality, the LGBTQ community, and we do have that soundbite with the ruling, so we'll listen in, then I can get comments as we wind up this segment of The Way It Is.
Even though we are not persuaded by the petitioner's contention that the provisions and the challenge are overboard, it is our view that there is real danger that in reading down an overbroad statute, we will simply substitute the vice broadness with the equally fatal infirmity of vagueness.
Certify that the petitioner's attack on the constitutional validity of sections 162 and 165 of the Penal Code is sustainable. We find that the impugned sections are not unconstitutional. Accordingly, the consolidated petitions have no merit. We hereby decline the relief sought and dismiss the consolidated petitions.
All right, and I'll start with you, Senator Irungu Kangata, on your thoughts on the ruling and what that means.
Very positive, very positive, a very positive ruling for 5 reasons. Number one, there is evidence that shows there is harm of what we call gay sex, particularly man-to-man sex. Research done in Canada and other so-called liberal states has indicated people who practice gay, they are more susceptible to certain diseases, including human papilloma virus, particularly because we are trying to penetrate against order of nature. Evidence in Canada showed people lose about 20 years of their life expectancy when they become gays. They are also more prone to taking drugs. Number two, if you allow gayism, what of other so-called victimless crime? On what basis will you then, for instance, oppose things like bestiality, things like FGM by adults, things like suicide, things like incest by adults? On what basis? Because one can as well argue, no, it is my right. I cannot do whatever I want to do in privacy. Number three, Article 1 says sovereignty of this country is vested on the people. That to me means whatever we do as leaders or even judicial officers, we must take into account the views of the people. And poll after poll still indicate Kenyans are conservative. So on what basis would you then try to impose something that people of Kenya oppose? Another reason why I'm opposed to gayism is the idea that they cannot propagate life. You are here because your mom and dad did something, heterosexual sex, and you came into being. If you want to ensure human race survives for millenniums of years, you must continue celebrating heterosexual life. Indeed, whites who have embraced this kind of nonsense, they are almost going to extinction because they are unable to propagate themselves. Maybe until we embrace things like cloning, that is when we can consider gay sex. So, and finally,
Very passionate about this.
Yes, I am. In fact, I enjoyed myself in this case. Finally, the problem with gays, I foresee, is the issue of double standards. You find the Western agenda are pushing this agenda, but then again they are saying, no, you guys, you cannot do FGM if you're an adult. Because why? FGM is done by the African man. Yes, I'm not saying it's positive, but the point is if you are allowing this one on the basis of privacy, then allow everything that is done in private.
Privacy.
Yes, so
right,
for me,
double standard. You're very happy with that. Honorable Manzo?
Yes, I don't support gayism for a simple reason. As a Christian and even in many other religions, similar to the Bible clearly, and from God's commandment, decries this. In fact, the Kiswahili version says, ni chukizo kwa Bwana. So it's purely ungodly, and on that basis I cannot have supported. I know some countries have that particular ideology. To me it looks very silly because if a man marries a man, then we are not going to have children. And most of those marriages don't last anyway. So this is just some evil activity which is temporarily. Similarly, if a lady marries a lady, then what next? So it's unnatural, it's not what God intended, and to me it is simply ungodly.
All right, Ambrose Weda.
I would say if I was interpreting it as a judge based on the current constitution, then that decision that they made was wrong. They were basically emotional, They brought in their religious leading. That was a purely Christian bench. Looking the way we have talked here, oh, it is immoral, it is illegal, it is what. When you discriminate people on the basis of their health conditions.
Health?
Oh, yes. Gayism is a form of sickness. You are malfunctioning.
No,
You wanna,
I
please allow me
disagree.
to allow me to finish.
I
Allow
allow
me
him to finish.
No,
People
I was a party in
Please.
that case.
Allow me to finish because the Christians are loading it over people without realizing that there is a problem. If it was a purely constitutional decision, our constitution does not allow you to discriminate them. They are sick. I can be sick. When I am attracted to you instead of her, it is a form of malfunction. Do you understand? But you do not use my sickness at the constitutional level. When my heart is sick, you heal my heart. It is the church, the very, very church people, the very, very Christians who have failed. So that gay people are dying. They are dying in their spirits and we are not healing them. We want to use external laws to heal them. It cannot heal them. That decision, you understand, has criminalized one form of sin, one form of sickness, while we allow one form.
Right.
I would have allowed.
Yes, listen.
It asks.
Listen.
As a judge, just a minute, as a judge, I would have said it is discrimination. As a born-again Christian, I would have told the people, you need healing.
No, he wants to go heaven alone. Now, Professor Atuli, that is the dean. Yes, the dean of medicine, the son of this Atuli guy. He came to court, and we asked him. He was supporting these gays. We asked him a question: is there a gay gene? He said no. Scientists have no shown. In fact, do you know how genes operate? Gene is something that is in your blood, that is the one that impacts on your behavior, whether to become mad, whether you are going to become tall or whatever. And it cannot survive across generation if at all is not being reproduced. So on what basis would then gayism survive across generation if they don't get children? So it's purely a lifestyle thing. He was asked a question: show us a consensus in the so-called international medical field that indeed they agree this thing is not lifestyle, it is in the nature. There is none. Even in those other countries which they have agreed to this nonsense, it is still a debate. And another issue is, it is the work of parliament to make laws. Courts, they don't have that power. It is against the notion of separation of power for courts to make such drastic decisions, which for me, either parliament makes them, or alternatively put that issue to a referendum.
All right.
This guy here, I can tell you, is not a real Christian. If you are a real Christian.
That's how religious people talk.
Listen. In my argumentation, have you heard me citing religion? I have not.
Yeah.
No, I'm using empirical studies.
All right, Irungu
I'm not
Kangata,
using
we'll
religion,
need to conclude. I'll start with you, Honorable Dan Manzo, on your conclusion. We've discussed a number of things, but your conclusion and maybe a word of advice to the citizenry, especially regarding our political temperature and climate right here in Kenya.
First, I think Kenyans should ignore those who are trying to heighten political temperatures and put them to task that they need to deliver services, because there's a government which has been elected. There are leaders who have been elected. It is time for them to work. And I really want to challenge the country. Any leader who is not working for the people, or who is campaigning and pretending that campaign amounts to work, they need to be challenged, to show tangibles, which are deliverables to the nation. Because we need to begin working for the nation and not politicizing and running around politicking and putting the country in a campaign mood throughout. We really need to settle down and serve Kenyans.
All right. And Bruce Weda, your closing comments?
I can tell my fellow Kenyans, please don't waste your time listening to these politicians. They earn $1 million shillings, allowances, and they have cars and house allowances and loans. Please concentrate on building yourself, building your family. In your spare time, you can listen to them. So when Tanga and calling those rallies, please avoid those rallies. Continue with your work. Otherwise, poverty and shame will follow you, and these same people will come and do politics at your grave.
All right. And Irungu Kangata, your closing comments.
The opinion of that Mama Mboga, that Shosho who in the rural areas counts. In the same opinion, an LIT in Nairobi counts. I know that Mama Mboga has no time for gays. I know Mama Mboga has no time for these perversions. And I feel so bad when I see some elites in Nairobi here trying to force their fake ideas to those rural people. And I'm happy for the first time the court has upheld this idea. No, of course, surely I'm a representative of the people. So I say that because for the first time the courts have given a judgment that is respectful of the people of Kenya. I'm fearful, by the way, of some of the ideas I've been seeing from judiciary. The other day I saw Chief Justice proposing that we reduce minimum sexual consenting age 18 to 16. He proposed that. No. To me, that is against the views of the people. No. I saw Court of Appeal giving an obiter saying, no, gayism is okay. No, it is not. You must, as a court of law, respect the Wanjiku who, when we were making this constitution, we said we don't want.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to wind it up right there. Thank you very much, Senator Irungu Kangata. We also have Honorable Dan Manzo, Member of Parliament from Makueni, and last but not least, Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. That is the way it is. For now, we're going to take a short break, but do stay with us. We've got the docket lined up for you to find out what